welcome to Konpira Maru Wine Chats Volume. I'm going to go for it, Volume 10. I'm going to say Volume 10. Out of lockdown, just parlay to lockdown, direct into World War III. So I'm coming to you live and direct from the Konpira compound. Parts unknown in Melbourne. How good is it though? How good are boys and their toys, as they say. So what I've got for you, I should point out as well, this is the first video for Konpira Maru Wine Chats. Come to you from our new digital camera, recording in 4K. The people said to me, just the people, Alastair, you know what? What'll make your videos even better is if we get your looks to launch 1,000 ships in as high resolution as possible. And I went, I'll give you what you want. 4K, here we are. So what I've got here for you in the shadows of the apocalypse is a couple of delightful little pre-mixed cocktails that we did with Barry Gin. Our last remaining chilled light red to be released for 2022, and two old favourites, Icarus Cab Merlot and Jim Carter Syrah. Not sure which order to taste those in yet. Let's see what happens come the time. I hope everyone's well, but let's jump into it. So we'll just go in order of how I'd organise my evening if I was consuming these. Let's kick off with a couple of cheeky cocktails. So you may or may not know, we made a gin in 2020 from wine we made in Queensland during the drought. Vines battled. The wine wasn't quite there for release. So being Queensland, Sam knew a distiller, because apparently if you're from Queensland, you know someone who does everything. And Sam knew Dono or Bungo or Timo, someone or other who distills up in the Sunshine Coast, and said, hey, this Videla, this Shiraz, let's distill this down into some nice neutral spirit and we'll make some gin out of it. Made a delicious neutral spirit, I should say. And from that, we came up with a little botanical mix, which became the Barry Gin, still available, absolutely delicious. But from that, keeping the Queensland connection going, one of our favourite restaurants in Melbourne, Henry's Sugar in Carlton, Daniel there, bartender to the stars, came up with a couple of bespoke cocktails. Pardon me. They're so good, I'm choking up. In truth, I actually ate a little bit of chocolate before coming on. Got a bit of nut stuck in my throat. Came up with a couple of bespoke cocktails. We have a little pre-mixed martini. Let's see what we got in here. Barry Gin, of course. Maiden Eye Dry Vermouth from my man Gilles Lapalou, also known as Gillies Lapalus. Salt and orange bitters. There's one other thing as well, but I can't pronounce it. Absolutely delicious. One I chilled earlier. Let's go. It's not a glass that I cleaned earlier, unfortunately. Got to say, Konpira Maru, I'm sure we're not alone there, do love a dry martini. What I like about these, and yes, it is pink because I did not clean my glass. You can go with an olive or no olive, a little bit of lemon peel, absolutely delicious. But something about this martini, it's so textural. These little fellas come in 110 mils, absolute bargain. Found on the website, found in Black Hearts and Sparrows in Melbourne, Market Wine Store in Maroochydore in Queensland, and Winona in Sydney. What a bottle shop. They're all great bottle shops. Mm. Absolutely sensational. How good's a martini? And seriously, how good did Daniel Craig look in Casino Royale? Holy smokes. So this one here, this second one, I do love a martini, but perhaps this is my favourite of the two, but I love them both. This one, Barry Gin, fermented rhubarb, Fino sherry, rosemary, seriously, rosemary oil, and Ceylon. Saline. Whichever way you want to go. I'm a Caribbean guy. You may be a Caribbean person. This one here recommended to garnish with a citrus peel and a rosemary stalk over ice or straight up. So we're going the straight up option. It really is actually bloody delicious, to be honest. Unfortunately, I'm just looking into the viewfinder here, and it's unfortunately cutting off my new hairdo. My first snip since the start of COVID. Had that horrible moment where you grow your hair out, and you decide, you look like one of the members of the Heart Foundation or Motley Crue or something, and then you actually just realise you look like a creepy old man. So I got the hair snipped. That is absolutely delicious. I've got to say, that is absolutely delicious. There it is. Called Barry Gin, Rhubarb and Sherry. Don't get more literal than that. It's Barry Gin, fermented rhubarb and sherry. Don't forget the saline, of course. Jokes aside, that is absolutely delicious. Up there to Henry Sugar, there in Carlton. Can't wait to go there next. All right, so moving on to the wine. First of all, we'll go with the second of our two chilled reds for the year. The first one, Voltron. I did really well because it's absolutely delicious. 5 varieties. I may or may not have done a video for that. But this one here is a square root of 5 in honour of the golden ratio, which I believe, off the top of my head, is 1 minus the square root of 5 divided by 2. And that's a ratio which pops up, I think it's 1.67, pops up all through nature, as well as sort of in odd places like the dimensions of the pyramids. Leaves on a, petals on a flower, branches on a tree. Why we called this one in particular square root of 5? Well, one, the golden ratio is important in grapevines because leaves, as they grow up, as a shoot grows up a tree in their natural habitat, each leaf is offset by the golden ratio, 167 degrees. Pretty sure it's 167 degrees. Comment in the comments if I'm wrong there. And why I went to square root of 5 rather than calling it the golden ratio is because I'm just fascinated by the fact that someone managed to work out the square root of 5 part. It just astounds me, and it's such an unsung hero. So this wine here, made to chill. I got a little bit of flack in Sydney the other week because they deemed it too chilled, having it straight out of the esky with ice. But I can tell you, I've had it a lot straight out of the esky off ice, and it's absolutely delicious. Made from the ground up to be chilled. Seriously, that is actually so delicious. So it's 2 Sangioveses. One made as a red from the King Valley down near Edi, right in the middle of in the middle of the King Valley. Beautiful spot for a swim. And the other one is rosé we made from the Arundel vineyard in the Grampians region. This one, we've been experimenting with bottling with our reds with a little bit more solids. It's for chilling, just to give a bit more grip on the mid palate. I'm sorry, but that is really yummy. I love when the right reds are cold. So what I was saying was I love chilled reds. the right reds, because you get the interplay between the tannin and the flavours without necessarily the pokiness of the alcohol coming through. And it's rare in a red that you get those sort of two in isolation. And that's where old mate, who doubted me in Sydney the other day, and I don't hold grudges, sort of missed the point. It's actually so yummy, I'm willing to give this, again, my patented double guarantee, my taste double guarantee. I guarantee my guarantee that it's tasty. And no one else will do that double guarantee, you know that. So if you order some of that, buy it from your favourite bottle shop. If you don't agree, when chilled, it is super tasty and your lust for life is improved, then I will give you your money back. That's guaranteed. Double guarantee. I guarantee the guarantee. Oh, goodness gracious. That is delicious. I tell you what, that's a moment. That's a peace dove right there. Really do feel that I've really stuffed the cropping here, but it's going to keep sticking my head down a little bit. Next one we have two wines from the Kilmore Vineyard. Could this be the last year for this vineyard? Change of ownership. Not sure that we're going to get this fruit again. Absolutely beautiful little treasure of a vineyard. As cool a cool climate as almost you can get in Australia. One of the last picked vineyards in the country. This year it's a funny old year, it's 4th of March, probably 5 weeks away still. In other years, so that would be early April, which is actually quite early. Other years we go well into May, June. But I tell you what, this has been a funny old year. It's felt like a cool summer, but it's actually been really warm. Insane amounts of water really driving the vines. So this is a Cab Merlot, about 60-40. 60% Cabernet, 40% Merlot. It's got a lot of the quinine character that this vineyard's famous for. Well, I'm not sure if this vineyard's famous for it, but I say it a lot, so. It's really nice. It's not green. It's peppery, it's spicy. No oak. It's comforting. It's just a comforting wine. But it's not like wrapped up in a doona comforting. It's more, I'm a little bit scared, and then a nice little warm breeze floats past, and it sort of makes me a little bit at ease with a slight bit of agitation still. Which is a tricky emotion to articulate, but I think this wine nails it. Love this wine. Fills up the winery with the aroma of pomegranates during fermentation. Absolutely lovely. And then over to my favourite wine of the crop, Jim Carter Syrah. This one 100% Syrah from the same vineyard. Again, very late pick. This one gets big cold soak pre-ferment, then a low and slow ferment because it gets picked so late, so the winery is really quite cold. So that attenuates the ferment, and then it gets about 11 days on skins post-ferment, which is called the maceration. And that drives heaps of structure into this wine, even though it's hyper-cool climate. It's got a palate that you don't see in a lot of Shirazes in Australia. Syrahs, lovely, velvety mid palate. Bit of that kelp on the nose. Ooh, I love that. A little bit salty. Insane pepper. That's a lovely wine. It's idiosyncratic, you know, it has no oak, so it's not just, you know, Shiraz and oak hitting you, which is very familiar palate for wine appreciators in Australia. It's linear in a way, but it's bright. It's bright in colour and it's bright in flavour. And it's got good drive. That's a really yummy wine. Thank you for attending Konpira Maru Wine Chats, Volume 10. I'm going to be back in a couple of weeks. Sam coming down from Queensland. We're going to be up at the vineyard chatting about the new wines from our vineyard up there. Just before we pick this year's ones, we'll be looking at the 2021s. Stay safe. Hope everyone around the world stays safe. And I'll see you